Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up.
Now we're looking at Chapter 9, Section 1, pages 256 and 257, Roman family life. Well, what's really interesting about Roman family life is exactly what we're looking at with our overall goal here, the importance of family life in Roman society. It is extremely important to be a part of a family in ancient Rome. That it was so important that Julius Caesar recognized it when he first became dictator, that he wanted to make sure that there were families to support one another. And so he thought it was so important that he gave people money, land, food, to make sure that their upper class families would have children. That he wanted to make sure that there were lots of upper class people. So, like with a lot of issues even today, if you want to convince somebody to do something, the best thing you can do to convince them is make it a good business deal. Make it worthwhile for them. That just like modern America, where you expect that a family that is doing pretty well, somebody who is upper middle class, has a really good job, they get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not over $1 million a year. Do you expect them to have 10 kids, or do you expect them usually just to have 1 or 2 kids? Well, most people in modern America, if they are well educated and have a pretty good job, their family is relatively small. If they have children, it's 1 or 2. Rarely you see a family that has 3, 4, or 5 kids, with the parents who are well educated and are making a lot of money. You expect the bigger families, those families that have 5, 6, 7 kids, often, not always, but often, those are lower class families that don't have a whole lot of money. And so in ancient Rome, Julius Caesar recognized that, and he realized, look, if I want to make sure that there are upper class families, upper class people in the future, I need to make sure that those upper class couples have kids. And so he wanted them to have multiple kids, not just 1 or 2. He wanted them to have a lot of kids. And so Julius Caesar offered free land to fathers who had more than 3 kids if they were married and were upper class and were already in a well-off family. And mothers who were free, that had 3 or more children, freed slaves, if they had 4 or more children, could get additional privileges, maybe get extra wheat at the wheat distribution center, maybe get money or get a break on their taxes. And we do that in the United States. That the more kids you have, the more of a tax break you get, the less money you have to give back to the government. So that makes sense. So Julius Caesar recognized it early on, and things like that continued on for years and years to make sure that the upper class families had children. If the upper class families die out and they don't have kids to take over the fortune from the family, to take over the estate, to take over the business, well, then it's just going to die out. Now, in the Roman household, there was one person who was in charge, and the Latin word for that is paterfamilias. Pater means father, familias is family. So paterfamilias is the father of the family, the head of the family. And the paterfamilias was the oldest male in the family. It might be a grandfather, it might be a great-grandfather. In some cases, it might just be the oldest son, and he just hasn't had any kids yet, but others have died in battle or in just as they've gotten older. So the paterfamilias is really, really important, because the paterfamilias is the person who is considered to own everything that the family has. That includes people. That means the slaves. That means that they were in charge of all of the business that people did in the family. So if you were the grandson of the paterfamilias and you thought, you know what, I need to start a new business, I can make this happen, I'm really good as a blacksmith. Well, the paterfamilias had to approve it. He had to agree to it. And so it was his choice. If the paterfamilias did not think that it was a good idea, he could say no, and you did not have any other choice. Well, paterfamilias sometimes had to make some pretty difficult decisions too, because it could mean, our family is out of money. We don't have anything else to work with. So, well, you're the oldest son, and you're big and strong, and you would bring us a lot of money if we sold you as a slave. And so, well, we really love you, but we need the money for the rest of the family, so we're going to sell you as a slave to the family down the road. Well, paterfamilias had to make that choice. So, and that could be in a really rich family, and it could be in a really poor family. The paterfamilias was the most important. And the way that Roman families were is every generation lived together. So, with you guys being 11, 12, 13 years old, you would live with your parents, and probably your grandparents, and maybe your great-grandparents, all in one home. And if you were a pretty rich family, if you were a patrician, well, that worked out fairly well. There were a lot more rooms. If you were in a pretty poor family, though, well, that meant everybody lived in 1 or 2 rooms of an apartment that is smaller than our classroom. So you might have 3 or 4 brothers and sisters, and your parents plus their 3 or 4 brothers or sisters, and then your grandparents all living together. So there might be 20, 30 people living in one family. And that's, it got pretty tight. If paterfamilias is most important, then that tells us that the women are much less important. The Roman household was passed down through the men. When a paterfamilias died, the next oldest man in the family stepped up and took that spot. Now, the women in Roman society had a lot smaller role. When a woman got married, she left her family that she grew up with and became a part of the new family that she married into. In some cases, she could become like a daughter in the new family and just move right in and step in just like she had been a daughter of that family for years. In others, she was treated more like just the mother of the children, and she could live there, she would take care of the children, but she still had ties back to her own family. It really depended on the two families and who had more money, who had more status in the community. But the more money the family had, it meant the more freedom that the woman would have. In some cases, a woman might take on what we would normally consider a male job. They might act as a doctor, or in some cases could own their own business. But other jobs that they might have is If a family really needed money, then the women might be expected to get a job, and then it's more of a traditional female type job. You know, what you traditionally think of for a female, not what modern American female jobs would be, because that could be anything. So you might think of them more as cooks or dressmakers or cloth weavers or hairdressers, and in some cases even actors or singers. Women didn't have a whole lot of options, but they could work outside the home if it was necessary.
Why, oh, who am I? Well, some nights I wish that this all would end, 'cause I could use some friends for a change. And some nights I'm scared you'll forget me again. Some nights I always win. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know.
So this is it. I sold my soul for this. Wash my hands of that for this. I miss my mom and dad for this. No. When I see stars, when I see stars, that's all they are. When I hear songs,
They sound like a swan, so come on. Well, daddy's got daddy's on. 5 minutes in and I'm bored again. 10 years of this, I'm not sure if anybody understands. This one is not for the folks at home. Sorry to leave, mama had to go. Who to die alone, all dried up in the desert sun. My heart is breaking for my sister and the calm that she called love. And then I look into my nephew's eyes. Man, you wouldn't believe the most amazing things that can come from some terrible lies.